And now, for something completely different. A series about a story too awesome to tell in one page. Cool, dramatic phrase to get the reader interested in the rest of this series. This may even be a prologue to the series, or the beginning! Dun dun dun! Mysterious title that may or may not be the title restated again. Hey idiots! This is part of the Very Awesome Dramatic Series name series. There's probably not going to be an introduction here. Let's just start in the middle of a completely random dialogue that may or may not have relevance to the story. No way! Said protagonist with common name to help you relate to the character. Yes way! Exclaimed best friend of protagonist who dies in like the 4th or 5th chapter or whatever. Are you telling me you actually went and got the X object from Y holder? Says Jesus. Oh wait, I can't make my character a different ethnicity than white, unless it has something to do with the story. Well, let's go to the top 100 boys' name chart and pick a name. Okay. Are you telling me you actually went and got the X object from Y holder? Says Mason. I mean, Jack? Shit, taken. Okay, Ryan? No, that reminds me of my English teacher. Fuck! That's right. This is a civil site. I'm allowed to curse. Okay, I got it. Matthew, or Matt for short. This is common enough to not be stupid crap, but rare enough to not be boring. This one is on the common side. If I want a duplicate of this name that goes on the uncommon side, I would pick Nathan. Then again, that would remind me of hot dogs. Okay, so whatever. Matt said it, and I'll name his best friend Nathan. Words of appreciation, Matt says. Blah 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 blah, Nathan said. Blah 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 blah, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah, Matt said. Oh, blah 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 blah. Oh, exclamation point! So anyway, Matt goes to try to get an object, not just any object. It turns out he randomly picked some super mega awesome object, and people will die for it. And then, cue dramatic phrase, he will wish he had never picked that object. You know you want to read more, so I'll provide a link for you. Read the next part of the series, or don't because the link is broken. The title sounds somewhat interesting, but it sucks to be you because this link will always be broken. When my sister got raped by Jack in Legion. Confusing title for a confusing chapter full of nothing that makes sense because you missed important plot information from the last story. The Return of the Titanium Dreamweaver. Confused? Read the last part of the A Series About a Story Too Awesome to Tell in One Page series. Or don't, because the last part isn't written. Yeah, make sure you read this story before reading this story. Actually, don't try, because the link is broken. But I'm sure you already know that. Okay, so here's the actual story then. Matt woke up in a place. You don't know what the hell the place is, but the author assumes you know. Next to him was something else you would have learned about in the last chapter. This mentions something about the object, and you can infer he got the object in the last chapter. Now it's talking about unknown powers, and again, unknown to you. Stupid emotional crap, which you don't understand a word of. Nation shows up and blah 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 blah. You can tell even the author is bored. The series could end right now, because everything seems to be resolved, kind of. There's still the final boss fight. Another link to the last story, and it still doesn't work! A link to the next story. title that lets you know this is just a filler chapter to give tons of important information, but absolutely nothing happens except someone dies. Basically, the 6th Harry Potter book, Holders style. Filler for the story. Important plot information for a series about a story too awesome to tell in one page series. Last chapter that you should read before this, but you won't. Matt does some research and does something. Time travel? Maybe. He learns that the Titanium Dreamweaver has the ability to do something which the antagonists would hope to have. Because it's bad. There's a fucking typo. So Matt and Nathan need to keep it away from primary villain. Anyway, they lost the Titanium Dreamweaver in between the 2nd and 3rd chapter. So they go and try to get it back. Something happens, and there's the Titanium Dreamweaver. Matt runs to get it, and oh shit, it's primary villain! Boom! Nathan dies! No! Emotional trauma moment for Matt. Primary villain goes to kill Matt, but Matt ends up overcoming his trauma and getting the hell out of there. Matt returns to a familiar place in his own realm. Everything looks the same, but now Nathan's dead. Worst laughter ever. So get ready for a whole load of endgame nostalgia in the next chapter. If you read the story above already, this link is virtually useless to you. Return of the Broken Link! Good thing the chapter sucks. Another Broken Link, but this time the title is boring. Prelude to the final area. The final dungeon, if this was a Legend of Zelda game. This chapter ends with a cliffhanger. The final area. Super penultimate story for a series about a story too awesome to tell in one page series. Did you read the last chapter? If you say yes, you're a liar. There it is. Drift in time. All Matt has to do is defeat primary villain and get the super hyper mega beta alpha awesome godly platinum overpowered aglet, so primary villain's descendants will not be able to use the super hyper mega beta alpha awesome godly platinum overpowered aglet for evil. He steps through. Now, he's sometime in the past or future. There's a huge tower in front of him. Let's roll. Matt almost dies 5 times and sees a whole bunch of dead seekers and the ghost of his sister and Nathan. And now, Matt's right outside the door of the final area, also known as the boss fight room. He steps through. Cliffhanger! Lost. You can stare at this all you want, but it will never become unbroken. Get ready to be disappointed with the ending to the series. Epic dramatic title that does the same thing the first chapter did and includes some element from the title and cleverly hides that this ending is a complete disappointment. Complete disappointment of an ending! The end of a series about a story too awesome to tell in one page series. You can choose to read this before you read this chapter. But if you're here for the plot, then you don't need to. Matt steps through and sees the primary villain. Oh no! It could also be the Holder. And it could be both. The Holder is the primary villain. Matt and the antagonist begin to converse. This entire dialogue will remind you of the dialogues in The Matrix. Why do you need the object? You know why I need the object! With supernatural Holders nonsense thrown in. And what will become of me after you use it? The Holder said nothing, but Matt started hearing voices in his mind. First the Holder, then his sister, then Nathan. All of them sounded like gibberish until Matt heard his own voice say, "You will die." and then Matt will kill primary villain in the most anticlimactic way possible. He will either use the power of the Titanium Dreamweaver or just flat out kill him. Or say some hippie phrase! Anyway, primary villain is dead and Matt takes the super mega awesome aglet, which is so cool that it's not even an object. That was the Dreamweaver. The last words of the story will somehow not be some phrase relating to the topic, but then you'll realize there's an epilogue. Read the chapter before this for a story that is much better than this ending, but still not good. Oh my god, epilogue! Just don't expect it to be helpful or interesting. Epilogue that explains absolutely nothing. Confusing epilogue. This is the epilogue to a series about a story too awesome to tell in one-page series. So you're a fool if you read this before you read any story there. Read the ending before reading this story, and read the story before that, and read the story before that. Here is a whole section about Matt thinking about his sister who got raped to death and Nathan who died during the filler part and if it was right to kill the final boss. And blah 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 blah. Depression! Wait a minute. Uplifting phrase! Matt is now inspired. He does an action. He probably burns the object or buries it or hides it. Find no hippie phrase related to the overall topic and will be mentioned at the footer of the series page. Note: make sure to leave plot holes and questions about the story unanswered. The previous story, which I hope you read before you read this entire epilogue. Or not, it doesn't even matter because this epilogue has nothing to do with anything. What a horrible end to a series. There may or may not be a footer. This footer will either state that this X is the white object out of 538 philosophical phrase or question, or a phrase repeated several times in the story. What the fuck?